Hello everyone, welcome back to Think Outside the Board and another July edition of the Crowdfunding Roundup. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at all of my picks that launched between July the 19th and the 25th. Now, July is continuing to be a very slow month, so I only have two campaigns that I want to share with you today. So what I'm going to do is, before I get to those two campaigns, I will briefly mention four near misses, four games that I almost covered but didn't, and I'll explain briefly why, and then I will include those games in the links below in the description. So I won't be talking at length about those four games, but the links will be there. If you're interested in those campaigns, you can go check them out for yourself. And of course, the two games that I am covering will also have links in the description below. Also, my videos are always bookmarked or tabbed, so you can scroll over the play bar, see the various chapters of the content, and then go to exactly what you want. So if there's a campaign that you're particularly interested in, like Innovation Ultimate or Wizards & Co., and you don't have time to watch the whole video, you can just click on the content you want, go right to that, get what you need, and then be done with the video. The best way to support this channel at this point in time is still to like and subscribe, and I will be launching more video series later in the year, including relaunching my teach and review series with better equipment, better lighting, better cameras, as well as live streaming games, everything from medium light strategy games to heavy Euros, narrative exploration, campaign games, dungeon crawlers, legacy games, and solo games. So even if you aren't really into crowdfunding, if you enjoy me and my presence, you may want to subscribe anyway, and that way you'll stay in the loop for when more types of content come later in the year. The four campaigns that I'm not actually going to be looking at in this video were kind of near misses for me. The first one is called Conqueror Empire Rises. That's on GameFound, and that's actually for an expansion to a game called Conqueror Final Conquest. Now that game has been out for about a year. You can go check it out on Board Game Geek. It's got a very light complexity. It's like a 1.8, which is a light game, but it has an 8.4 rating on BGG. Now, this is the type of game that is sort of dudes on a map, area majority, civilization themed, so you've got different factions vying for area control of a map. Kind of like a Game of Thrones, the board game, maybe Clash of Cultures, but this is a simpler version of those types of games. And ultimately, that's why I didn't include it. It was just a little simple for my taste, and the publisher has not done anything beyond this one game and now its new expansion. The ratings are good. It's very light for that type of game, so if that's something that appeals to you, you might want to check it out. I will likely include this publisher in the future if they continue to produce good games, no matter what the complexity is, or if they start putting out games that appeal more to me. So either one of those things, games that appeal more directly to me, or once they have a little bit more of a foothold in the industry and they have a few games behind them, I'll probably be covering them regardless. If their games continue to get 8.4 scores on BGG, which is pretty darn good. The second campaign that I'm not covering is the Converge wallet game series on Kickstarter. It's for a new Button Shy game, or a series of games from Peter Hayward, who's probably best known as the designer of Village Pillage and The Time You Killed Me. And this campaign, it's called Converge, is for three different games that are all kind of linked up thematically. So there's like Converge, and then a name. So there's three of them. So you can get one or all three. But when I was looking at these games, they just didn't really pop for me gameplay-wise. And Button Shy's whole thing is that they produce wallet-sized card games. Sometimes they'll do expansions, which are usually some division of 18, so maybe 2 9-card expansions or 3 6-card expansions, and then they'll do that as a separate wallet game. And Button Shy is great. They do a lot of great games, but 18-card games, it's hard to get really compelling gameplay in that. And when designers do, I certainly really like to include and cover Button Shy games. But I'm not covering all of their games, and this is one that for me was just a miss. But they're a solid publisher, and if you like wallet card games, specifically smaller size card games, especially card games that are portable, you might want to go check out that campaign. And again, the link is in the description below. I'm also not covering the Nexus Legacy Edition rulebook on GameFound, mainly because that is more of like a role-playing type rulebook, and I don't really cover role-playing games. Now, the reason I was on the fence with this one is that it is taking a game that already exists, that this company has produced previously. It's called the Nexus Arena Combat System. That is a board game, and it's actually rated very highly on Board Game Geek. It's got an 8.8. But that is the only game that this publisher has produced, and this campaign is for this hardcover rulebook that takes that game and adds on kind of role-playing and legacy-type elements to it. So it's not really a board game. You can get their old board game through this campaign, which can be used with that legacy rulebook. But again, it's a publisher that's only done one game. So those kind of combinations of things, the one game history and the fact that this is really more of a role-playing element, those are the two things that made me not include this campaign in this video. But again, the campaign is linked below. So if you're interested in that, you want to give it a closer look, you can click on the link and it will take you right to that campaign on GameFound. The last game that I'm not covering is Vampire the Masquerade Milan Uprising. And there is another Vampire the Masquerade game that I was very interested in called Chapters. The problem is there are many Vampire the Masquerade games out there and they're all being published by different publishers, so they're not related to each other. The one that I liked, Chapters, was being published by a company called Flyhouse, and later they produced a game called Werewolf the Apocalypse Retaliation, and those are both games that I'm very interested in. The publisher of this is a different publisher, and this game is not related to Chapters or to the Werewolf game. It's a publisher called Explored, and they've only made one game before. It crowdfunded, but it hasn't even delivered yet. It's called The Bad Karmas and the Curse of the Zodiac. So here we are looking at a publisher with no delivered games yet, and they've got this new product that's tied into their Teberu system, which is even more than an app. And I know that for a lot of people, they don't like to play board games with apps. This is a whole new technology that's created with various chips, a smart board that you play on, smart dice, that also have technology in them. So the game knows when you've rolled something and it knows what you've rolled, and also smart miniatures. Now, this is a very involved electronic system. There's a lot going on to it. You can't play the game without the system. You can pledge the game in its campaign, but you won't be able to play it unless you've gotten the system in the past. Like if you pledged for their Bad Karmas game that has not yet delivered. Or maybe there's a way to buy the Teberu system off their website. I'm not sure. They've also partnered recently with Hasbro, so Hasbro is going to be working with them. A lot of gamers aren't really excited about that because companies like Asmodee and Hasbro can kind of come in and gut smaller companies. Now, this doesn't appear to be the case with Explored. It appears to be the case that Explored is still working as they want to work, and they're just partnering with Hasbro. But for a new publisher, that was another, worry or a red flag. The big one here, though, is this electronic system that is more than an app, and you need that to play this game. And if you're going all in, getting, the full pledge and the Teberu system, it's just a very, very, very expensive pledge, and not something that I wanted to cover since it's from a publisher that doesn't have any published games released yet. But if the system does well in the future and they publish more games and I become more comfortable with it, I likely will cover it in the future. So those are the 4 campaigns. I'm not actually going to be showing you information about the campaigns or going over the pledges and things. Now we're going to get to those. So the first one here is called Innovation Ultimate. This is designed by Karl Chuduk, as it says right here. Karl Chuduk is probably best known for a game called Glory to Rome, which was on Kickstarter. It never fully delivered, and so it's just the storied game that some people managed to get copies of. It's very hard to find. But he put out Glory to Rome in 2005, and then Innovation came out in 2010. Now, if you want to look this up on Board Game Geek, the original game here has a 7.3. It's got a complexity rating of 2.76, which is a medium-heavy game, and it's designed for 2 to 4 players. Now, there are 4 expansions that were made for innovation, and they're all included in this crowdfunding campaign. Some of them raised the player count to 5 or 6. But in general, this game is a civilization-themed card game. It uses multi-use cards and tableau building. Well, first of all, the campaign is on Backerkit, but there are no videos really for me to show you. If you go over to the Board Game Geek page, there is a video from 15, 20 years ago from Tom Vassell when he was starting out talking about innovation and reviewing it. And there are several gameplay videos, but those are all longer videos that I wanted to show in my video. It would become the largest part of this video, whatever video I decided to show you for innovation. And there aren't good ones featured in the campaign. So I'm not going to show you a video for this. Just know that it is a civilization-themed card game from the designer of Glory to Rome. And if you want to look at it more, you can feel free to do so. Now, there's only one pledge for this. It is the $69 pledge. In the continental US, it is $12 shipping, so $81 total if you want to back this. This does include all 5 expansions for innovation. So the 4 that were previously produced, Echoes of the Past, Figures in the Sand, Cities of Destiny, and Artifacts of History. And then for this campaign, they're creating a new expansion called The Unseen. So you'll be getting all 5 of those expansions and the base game for this pledge price. Now, if you go back up to the top to do the things that I usually do at the front of this video, they had a funding goal of $30,000. They're $128,000. That makes this the richest campaign of the 2 that I'm looking at and the one with the highest multiplier. This is a very long campaign. It's on Backerkit, which is sometimes hard for people to find. So just know that it's there. It's got 49 days left. This launched on July 25th, and the campaign is going to run until September the 15th. So that's almost a 2-month campaign. And then finally, they are targeting spring of 2024 to deliver this. So it's about a year out. It's a very vague delivery window. What is spring? Which months comprise spring? I could say that I think it's March, April, May. And so we would just go to the end of that window, let's say May. I always go to the highest price or the farthest out delivery window, just so that you're not taken by surprise later if those kind of far ends of the estimates are the ones that are actually met. So we're going to call this a May delivery and then be happily surprised if it manages to show up in March or April. It's being published by Asmati Games, designer is Carl Chuduk, and that is Innovation Ultimate, and it is on Backerkit. Our second campaign of the week is Wizards & Co. And this is a lighter game than I usually cover, but it's got some serious designers behind it. And so I think that means it's going to be a little bit more than your average lighter themed game. Now, they had a funding goal of $11,000. They're at $23,000 about, so they are funded. This campaign launched on July 25th, so the same day as Innovation Ultimate, and it is going to conclude on August the 9th. We're going to take a look at this video, then we'll talk about the pledges. There's only one pledge, same as Innovation Ultimate. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the publisher and the designers here. So this is being published by Sinister Fish Games. They're probably best known for their games Villagers, Streets, and Moon. And those are very light games, but they're very popular. They're very well themed. They're fun. They're really well designed physically, component-wise, and there's good choices to be made in those games. I don't always love lighter games because I don't like games that are on rails. I still want to feel like I'm making choices and choices that have impact and can affect gameplay. But Sinister Fish does that pretty well with their line of lighter games. There's 4 designers on this one. So we've got Antonio Tinto, who's worked on Alma Mater and Egizia, Stefano Laperto, who's also worked on Alma Mater and Egizia, also Flaminia Brazzini. Now, she's worked on Alma Mater, Coimbra, Egizia, Gollum, and Lorenzo il Magnifico. And then finally, Virginio Gili, who's worked on Coimbra, Egizia, Gollum, Grand Austria Hotel, and Lorenzo il Magnifico. Now, there are a lot of good games in that bunch of games, which is part of the reason that we're looking at this. Also, the art is done by Miguel Coimbra, who's worked on the Seven Wonders series, Battlelore, Cyclades, the Small World series, and the original Zombicide. So he's just a very prolific artist. I love his art. You've got a lot of talent behind this game. And this is a hand management and set collection game. There's an action cue in it, and it's got Take That. So let's take a quick look at this video, and then we'll talk about the pledge and shipping and the one add-on.
The High Necromancer is dead, and his dungeons are ripe for plunder. You are a crafty wizard with a plan to send minions to claim the loot, but your adversaries are attempting the same. You must decide how to infiltrate each dungeon and whether to deploy your creatures openly or stealthily. You should also consider the enchantments cast on dungeons, for they alter the very fabric of reality. When a dungeon is filled, battle is joined and your creatures will struggle for supremacy. Survivors collect the spoils, fabulous gems, mythical artifacts, and the means to summon denizens from below to bolster your ranks. Behold, the mighty Steel Sentinel, the accursed Void Dragon, and the voracious Big Blue Blob. Fight well, and fight wisely, for only one wizard can claim ultimate victory. Wizards & Co. Back it on Kickstarter now.
All right, so that is the single video we're actually going to be looking at today. If we go down into the pledges here, we can see that there's only one pledge for this game. It's $31. Shipping in the continental US is $12, which means that your overall price here is going to come to $43. They do have one add-on, which is for sleeves. You'll get enough sleeves for this game. $13. That would raise your overall price, your total price in the continental US to $56. They do have a few more things that you can add on. They're not related to this game though. It's some of their other games. And they will be available in the, I believe in the Pledge Manager. But here's that list of games. So you've got Moon, the Deluxe Edition, sleeves for that, an expansion for that. The same deal basically for Streets, for Villagers, and then they've also got this lesser known game called Great Scott, the game of Mad Invention, and Honk. So if you really wanted to go crazy, because Moon, Streets, and Villagers are all great games, you could pick up all of this stuff in the Pledge Manager, and you wouldn't even have to pledge the game to do that. You could just do a $1 pledge as a placeholder for that. Now, they're planning on delivering Wizards & Co. and any of these items that you add on in May of 2024. So about a year out for this campaign. And that wraps our video. Very short video today. Thank you very much for joining and watching with me. I'll be back in another week with a new video. Things look like they're still going to be slow in July. So I know that I'm going to be covering Iron Rail 4 in next week's video. I'm also considering covering a game called The Gods Will Have Blood, and that campaign is on GameFound. But there's only two right now that are possibilities for me. We'll have to see what comes out next Tuesday, and then my video will launch probably next Friday. And if things continue as they've been going, it again will be a shorter video. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, please consider doing that. And until next week, have a great week. Play lots of great games. I'm getting together with a gaming group this weekend. We're going to be playing Darwin's Journey, Resurgence, and possibly Books of Time. I'm also playing through Cantaloupe, the second book in that series. Kristen and I just recently played Flamecraft. We really enjoyed that one. Lighter set collection game, resource management. And we're also really excited to get back to our campaign of Jurassic World, The Legacy of Isla Nublar. Oh, I'm also getting together with some friends on Sunday to play some party games. So we'll probably be playing Dixit, Fantasy Realms, maybe some other things. And then I'll be playing a few more games next week during the week. I hope you're able to get in some good games this week as well. And until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.